worry about it. I get it remixed, and you know, I get it back over to you in you know, I think 10 days or something like that. But you know, I already this time I did not have the master in time to meet the release schedule, so it was kind of nerve-wracking, you know, to see. But you know, he finished it.
Thriller became the #1 best-selling album in history, staying on top of the charts for 33 weeks. Fascinating information surfaced in 1988. Jackson released his first autobiography, Moonwalk, which took 4 years to complete and sold 200,000 copies. Jackson told of his childhood, his experiences in the Jackson 5, and the abuse he suffered as a child. He also spoke of his plastic surgery, saying he had 2 rhinoplastic surgeries and a surgical creation of the cleft in his chin. In the book, he attributed the change in the structure of his face to puberty, weight loss, a strict vegetarian diet, a change in hairstyle, and stage lighting. Moonwalk reached the top position of the New York Times bestseller list. The musician then released a film called Moonwalker, which featured live footage, music videos, and a feature film that starred Jackson and Joe Pesci. Moonwalker debuted atop the Billboard Top Music Video cassette chart, staying there for 22 weeks. It was eventually knocked off the top spot by Michael Jackson. The legend continues. Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson had a remarkable relationship. In the early 80s, they frequently appeared on each other's albums.
Now it is. It's back in the house.
During a London recording session, Jackson temporarily stayed at the home of Paul and Linda McCartney. One night, McCartney told Jackson about the huge income potential of the songs he owned the publishing rights to, revealing that he made large amounts of money each year from other people's songs.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time I've taken a guitar out of the case, or in fact done an autograph, I'd be a rich man by now.
A couple of years later, Jackson bought the Beatles catalog in a deal worth $47.5 million.
I was offered the songs to buy for £20 million. And the problem for me was I didn't want to be Paul McCartney owning John Lennon's bit of the songs. I felt that would be like unfair. I wanted to own my bit of the songs, but I wanted John, or his estate as it then was, to own his side of it. You know, I thought it would be perceived as a bit kind of grabby of me if I just moved in, yeah, I got all the songs. I wasn't comfortable with that. So what happened was I rang up Yoko and I said, we have an opportunity to buy these songs. 10 million to you, 10 million to me, and we'll have it. And she actually said, I think we can get it for 5.
In 1995, Jackson and the Sony Corporation merged their music publishing business, making them joint owners of the Beatles publishing, along with songs performed by Elvis Presley and Little Richard. The deal netted Jackson $95 million. For a while, it was rumored that Michael Jackson would give back the Beatles songs to McCartney, as he did with some of the assets of Sly and the Family Stone. McCartney wrote on his own website that he was not surprised to not be included and was not upset at the apparent snub. He added, in fact, though Michael and I drifted apart over the years, we never really fell out, and I have fond memories of our time together. He was a massively talented boy man with a gentle soul. In a recent G8 meeting in Rome, the leaders of the world discussed the passing of Michael Jackson with President Obama. Correcting Italy's Silvio Berlusconi, there was no question about where President Obama is standing on this issue.
He said the best, not one of the best.
C'est pas l'une des meilleures, non la meilleure, la meilleure.
No, Nuno Flatbutt. What was his reaction to the death of Michael Jackson?
I talked to him about it this morning. Look, he said to me that obviously Michael Jackson was a spectacular...
Historically, U.S. presidents from both parties welcomed Michael Jackson to the White House, starting with President Carter.
Everybody remembers.
In 1984, President Reagan invited Jackson to the White House to thank him for supporting a campaign against drunk driving.
President of the United States, Mrs. Reagan, and Mr. Michael Jackson.
Well, isn't this a thriller? I'm delighted to see all of you here today. We haven't seen this many people since we left China.
He is totally opposed to drugs and alcohol and is using his popularity to influence young people against them. That's what Reagan wrote in his diary at the time.
One of the most talented, most popular, and most exciting superstars in the music world today.
The first
Michael
President
Jackson.
Bush also complimented Jackson, appearing with him in the Rose Garden in 1990, and noting that Jackson had received a humanitarian award from the Capitol Children's Museum.
I just wanted to...
Jackson sang "Heal the World" at President Clinton's first inaugural gala in 1993. President Obama mentioned the great joy that Michael Jackson brought to a lot of people through his extraordinary gifts as an entertainer. Before his death, Michael Jackson became a symbol of resistance for the Iranian post-election movement. And it's also reported that he was about to engage the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il, an assumed-to-be fan, to help free 2 American journalists imprisoned in North Korea. An American original from birth, Michael Jackson was the epitome of creativity. He created an entirely new musical experience from his glove, voice, jacket, dance, and his acting. They all bore the unique stamp that said it was Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson had a complete blend of creative talents, including extremely high musical, verbal, artistic, entrepreneurial, and performance abilities. It's very rare for any individual to be as talented as he was on any of these, but to be so outstanding in all of them is very rare. He had the X factor.
And Michael was a workaholic as a child, kind of a disciplinarian that most kids don't have. You know, it's very rare because when the brothers were on break and it was time to come back in, Michael would be on time, you know, and he would tell some of the people that work with him, the security and the assistants, tell my brothers, you know, it's time to come back in. And he's the littlest one in the group, but he's telling his older brothers, come on in, we got work to do.
So we drove down from Oakland, we cut the tracks, and we went over to the house on Havenhurst. And when I met Michael, he was in their little studio rehearsing and recording some music, and the other boys were out playing basketball. So we were out playing basketball with the guys, and he just basically, it was a Sunday, and every Sunday a choreographer would come, and he and LaToya would dance with the choreographer for like hours.
I think Michael has this draw that people are attracted to him, that he creates a certain type of excitement that only a few people have been able to generate. He has an authenticity with his performances that he really likes performing. He really loves it. And when he's in the studio, he dances while he's recording. You know, when he's singing PYT, I mean, he's in the studio jamming, because that's why we were able to relate to him, because we can feel how much he loved to perform. We can feel how much he loved that song that he was singing. We can feel his happiness and his joy when he was singing. And that's what made him great. And also, Michael is a remarkable artist. He can draw. Oh my gosh, he is just one ball of talent. I remember in an earlier interview, one of the brothers saying that, dang, Michael's so good and he doesn't even practice. And that was with basketball.
Don't treat me like a criminal.